Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Lisa Richardson, and today we are at the beautiful Spring Island at the Walker Landing Sports Complex where there's so much activity going on. And here today is our special guest and co-host, Mr. John Strother, the broker in charge of Spring Island Realty. John, share with us the other two guests we have today.
So today we'll have Whitfield Marshall. He's our Natural Resources Management Technician, and Ron Dietrich, who's our Beverage Manager.
So stick around for this episode of 843 TV here at the beautiful Spring Island,
where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Beaufort comes to speak.
TV,
where communities come to speak. Welcome to 843 TV. We are here at the absolutely gorgeous Spring Island at the Walker Landing Sports Complex, and we're actually sitting on the croquet lawn this morning, and behind us is the gorgeous marsh and view and the athletic center there. And joining us today is our first guest, Mr. Whitfield Marshall. He is the Natural Resource Management Technician. That's a mouthful, but that's a wonderful opportunity. Welcome, Marshall. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Marshall. So Whitfield, you have been here a couple of years. You're from the Clemson area. You graduated from Clemson, and here you have quite a big role. You manage 1,200 acres of natural habitat. Tell us about just the beauty of the untouched nature, which is part of why you're here, to keep it looking like that. So sum up what your main responsibilities are.
Okay. So when you come on the island, it may look like nature here is untouched, but we actually manage nature preserves on the island very intensively for a diversity of habitats. And we do that because part of the Spring Island philosophy is to have as many native species here as possible, and to do that we need as many native habitats as possible. So while it may look unmanaged, there's a lot that goes into managing the nature preserves.
So out of all the different habitats that you do manage, you know, what are some of the examples of your job description? I mean, what are some of the different things you're doing? Like maybe what are you doing today and what are you doing yesterday, that type of thing?
Well, it involves a lot. Today we'll actually be conducting a prescribed fire on the island. Some days my work includes controlling and removing invasive plants so that they don't take over our native habitats. We also manage our freshwater wetlands on the interior of the island and our fields to make sure they don't become young forests.
You would keep talking about habitats. Would you clarify and maybe go into a little more detail what those habitats are? And
yeah, so what we have on Spring Island are freshwater wetlands, forests, and fields. And there are subcategories to each of those. Some of our forests are native pine savannas, others are live oak forests. And so those require different management strategies to keep them the way they are.
Well, I know that one of the first times I was here, I took a horseback ride, and I went through so many different habitats. I mean, I went through the live oak forest, which was amazing. Then we came out into this open area, and it seemed like an African savanna. And I said, oh my God, this looks like Africa. And they said, that's what we call it. And then I came back through a high pine habitat. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've had in this area. Can you, how do you keep it that way? You just let it go forever, or what do y'all do with?
You have to reset succession regularly for certain habitats. And so in pine savannas, they need fire as a regular disturbance, or else they'll slowly become a different kind of forest, like the live oak forest I mentioned. And so every 2 years, they usually have a prescribed fire used, and that is a low controlled burn that removes fuels and resets it for the native grasses so that it has that savanna-like appearance.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite an education process involved in this, it sounds like.
Gosh, it's amazing. Yeah, it really is. I mean, you think that, okay, we'll just let it go natural, but that's really not what nature's all. I mean, we have a shorter time frame than nature does, don't we?
We do. We tend to remove natural disturbances when we move into an area as humans, and so what we try to do here at Spring Island is mimic those natural disturbances in a controlled and important way to maintain the habitats while we're here.
So after Matthew came through, there were a lot of trees that were down, and then y'all actually did some timbering. Can you explain why that was?
Yes. So Hurricane Matthew, of course, was a big disturbance on the ecosystem. We had lots and lots of trees down.
Mm-hmm.
That created a really great opportunity for us, though, to go into some of the forests that we don't use fire in to maintain, that had become really dense and clustered, and open those up so that we can have that park-like appearance in a live oak forest and get those big, beautiful, mature trees. Because when you have lots of little trees packed together, they'll stay that way for a very, very long time. But if you remove some of the trees from in between, the ones that remain mature quicker.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, beyond the trees and all those, we've got quite a system of wetlands and ponds. So how do you maintain and manage all those?
Well, one of the best places on the island for wetlands is actually called the duck ponds, even though they're not really ponds. They're in the center of the island, and it was a low-lying area that, when Spring Island was still a hunting plantation, they diked it in. And they used it as a manageable wetland for duck hunting. And they planted corn in the summer and flooded it in the winter. Nowadays, we keep it flooded for roughly 8 months out of the year, and then we allow it to dry out during the summer. And that sort of mimics what a natural freshwater wetland would do. And it provides really great nesting habitat for migrating wood ducks.
I saw a picture of you in a canoe or a kayak or a rowboat, I'm not sure what it was, monitoring those. Is that something you do?
It is. We have 18 wood duck boxes on the island. They are from one end of the island to the other, spaced out. And we go around every other week during the nesting season, which runs from January to June. And we count the eggs and we count the number of eggs that hatch so that we get a good idea of how successful the wood ducks on the island are.
And as we wrap up, Whitfield, as a resident, how would you share with them, how does one properly interact with nature?
One of the best ways to do that here is with our trail system. We have 30 miles of trail on the island. Most of those trails are also roads that provide us access into the nature preserve, but they are maintained well for walking. And so grab a trail map. This system connects almost every lot on the island to either the perimeter of the island or the interior nature preserves. And don't be afraid to get out and explore all the little nooks and crannies of Spring Island's trail system.
Absolutely. Well, it's a beautiful place that you'd want to explore, but stay right here. We're going to be back with more 843 TV.